Who's heard the metaphorical fable of sharpening the saw? Just quick show of hands if you know that one. We got a few. Yeah, all right. So if you know, you know. But the story comes originally from Stephen Covey's classic book, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Who's at least heard of that book before? Yeah, yeah. That one's been out there for a while. So the story of sharpening the saw, he talks about someone, walking along, coming across a woodcutter that's sawing wood, trying to saw down a tree or cut logs, whatever. And the woodcutter is struggling and sweating, and it's just looking like it's much harder than it needs to be. So the person says, "Hey, why don't you stop, like pause for a moment and just take a second to sharpen your saw? It might be a little bit easier." The woodcutter doesn't pause. He just keeps sawing and he says, "No time. Got to get this wood cut." So the idea behind it is that it's very, very hard when you're in the thick of it to take the time to pause and do the thing that's going to help make the work go faster on the other side. We get into what feels like a flow or a rhythm, and we end up taking much longer to get something done than it needs to be, or we make it a whole lot harder on ourselves. Now, that book was originally published in, wait for it, 1989, which I think is wild that it's been around that long. I was 4 when that came out. And it's almost laughable now to think about people in 1989 not having time to slow down. Compared to the pace of the world today, that thought sounds adorable. Who wouldn't want to go back to the calm, quiet world of 1989? But it's all relative. Yes, our digital world is full of all these inputs that's making life go at lightning pace. But that pressure to seek purpose, to contribute, to be a valuable member of your family and your community, that's a deeply human need. And it's easy to get wrapped up in the work and forget to pause and sharpen the saw, to invest in the habits that make the work efficient and easeful. Now, I've been thinking about this a lot as education and training chair for my home district of D53. Club officer training is a twice a year event that calls for the volunteers of the executive committee of clubs to pause and sharpen the saw. But here at Dynamically Speaking, we are intimately aware of the fact that dynamically high performers have calendars that would make the average person weep. Toastmasters are busy people, yes? We are people who have jobs and families and hobbies that we love and side hustles and more. Toastmasters is just one piece of a vast web of our dynamic awesomeness. So that's the challenge that my D53 PQD and I faced heading head on while we were planning and executing our round 2 officer training. Now, I probably just said a lot of words that didn't necessarily make sense, a lot of letters too, that didn't necessarily make sense to our newer members. So I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to pause and sharpen our metaphorical saws so we can all be on the same page. Toastmasters is old, like 101 years old. And its design is something that is much more traditional than what we're used to today. So, as we all know, being in Toastmasters, the club has no paid coach or consultant or small business person that's running it. There's no one even at the top. There isn't really one person that's behind it all. Toastmasters runs on this kind of charter system of clubs that organize together people, just regular people that come together to contribute. So every club functions because there's a team of volunteers that raise their hand to do a little extra work as club officers. But in the end, we're Toastmasters, just like everybody else that's in the club. Training for those club officers comes from the district. The district is also run by Toastmasters, just like us, that raise their hand to do a little extra work or maybe just couldn't say no when someone asked them. So the district trio that leads us through all of this training and all of the functions that happen in the district are the district director, which is in charge of all of it. They're the leader of the ship. And then we've got the club growth director, so CGD, whose primary focus is on helping clubs grow and bringing in new clubs. And then you've got the PQD, which is my direct report as the training and education chair this year. And PQD is Program Quality Director. So in District 53, my home district here in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Eastern New York, my PQD this year is Jackie Kessler, and has been amazing to work with. We are both on the same page on wanting club officer training and all of the education that we do in the district to be helpful, to be efficient, and to be effective, to be something that people want to show up to as much as possible. So the purpose of round 2 club officer training is an exchange of information. When we organized round 1, that was about teaching people how to do their role. It was about explaining the year ahead and how it was going to work, especially for our newer club officers. But when we get to round 2, halfway through the Toastmasters year, it's all about what's working, what's not working, how can we make it more fun, more a term that we like to use, my husband and I like to use in our side hustle is free, which is fun, rewarding, engaging, and energizing. So that was our goal going into round 2. Now, the challenges that we're facing are that Toastmasters are busy people. The whole world is full of busy people right now. We are overwhelmed with the inputs coming in. So, in the past, the 3-hour officer trainings that we had often had a keynote and then a breakout session and then another breakout session that was more presentation focused. And those sessions had value, but the quality, especially when you get a lot of different people coming in to help with multiple training sessions, the quality varied from session to session. And a lot of people don't want to sit in front of their computer for 3 hours just listening to someone talk. Netflix is a whole lot more interesting, unfortunately, than a keynote on Toastmasters at times. Sometimes we get a really great presenter, but I know I personally, at the end of the day, would rather be sitting on the couch watching reruns of The Office or Black Rabbit rather than having to sit through an okay-ish keynote. So our solution for this round to make it as accessible and easeful and efficient as possible was to shorten the session to 2 hours and focus on the goal of round 2 officer training, which is the exchange of information. So it was all about conversation, no keynote, no presentation. Our strategy was to use the 3 things that make any team function well: clear, concise communication, support, having our doors open so that people can call, text, or email if especially the facilitators need help getting ready, and then gathering feedback at every single step of the process so that we could make sure that it was turning out to be effective and easeful and enjoyable. And so far, we still have a couple more sessions to go, but so far everything has been organized. We have facilitators for the rest of the sessions that we have scheduled. And based on the feedback, we've nailed it. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback about the 2-hour format and the discussion. And what I've really learned is that the organization on my side, managing the project, matters. I was very focused this time on duplicatable systems, especially in the way that I saved my email templates to make each round easy in terms of getting the information out to the facilitators. And that included creating a document that everybody could come back to in Google Drive so that it was shareable with everyone, available on the cloud, and they could just pop in and see what they needed to do, what was expected of them. So my vision for the future, my question that I'm asking as we move forward, is how do we continue to encourage people to slow down and sharpen the saw? How do we expand the value of club officer training so that people are actually excited to attend rather than doing it just because they know they're supposed to? And how can we make club officer training free? How can we continue to elevate the experience so that it is fun, rewarding, engaging, and energizing, just like our club meetings are every Thursday morning? So thank you all. And I encourage you to take a moment this week and look for somewhere in your life that you could pause, take a breath, and sharpen your metaphorical saw.